Here on Tobago Updates Television. We're coming to you live from the Milford Road Esplanade in downtown Scarborough, Tobago. Just in case you're wondering, we're sitting right in front of the I Love Tobago sign. Do you love Tobago? Then you can pop on over so we can see your beautiful faces. Remember, our set this morning is sponsored by Quartz. In the event you're looking for some type of furniture or appliance, you can check Quartz to furnish your home. They're located on the ground floor of the Port Mall in Scarborough. We begin conversation this morning in our outdoor studio, and we're going to be speaking with Ms. Crystal Celestine, a financial advisor. The question this morning is, why do you need to budget for 2025? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Adanna. Good morning, Tobago. Tobago Updates, thank you for having me this morning.
Of course, indeed, it is a pleasure. And you know, when you begin a year, there's always a New Year's resolution, some type of plan, some type of goal setting. And we're talking about finances, one of the most important things that you could ever plan for, because I'm thinking if you have all of these goals, they must be financed some way or somehow.
Right.
So why do we need to set goals, and how do we set our budget or our financial plan for any particular year, and how do we break it down to ensure that we achieve all the goals to cover the entire year?
All right. So one of the things that I do, I'm a financial coach, right? And in talking to persons, I realized that a lot of people are in survival mode. A lot of people are working month to month just to make ends meet. And that is definitely no way to live. So having, tips and tools for financial management is always important. Setting goals is where we begin. Now, we are all different. There are different things that we want to accomplish in life. And I try to remind my clients, never compare themselves to anybody else. What do you want to do? And that's the first question that we have to ask ourselves this year. What do you want to do, Adanna? What do you want to do, Tobago? Do you want to travel? Do you want to save towards a house? Do you want to send your children to university? Do you want to just increase your savings? Do you want to have an emergency fund just so that when things pop up, you will not be struggling? So ask yourself those questions. What do you want to do this year? And write them down. It's good to have a plan in your mind, but I find that when you bring it to life in writing, it tends to hold you accountable, right? So ask yourself the question, what do you want to do? And take it seriously. Don't do it on a busy day. Set yourself aside and ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish this year? And then one of the things that we have to do is to look at our budget. Now, a lot of people don't like to hear the word budget. How do you feel about budgeting?
It's challenging.
Right. A lot of people don't like the rigid way that a budget can hold you to. But having a budget is basically just having a plan for your money, showing you where your money is going. So take a list of all your expenses right now. Just write it down just to see where your money is going. And then we could start planning, because then we could see what we need to cut, where we might need to substitute things, where we might need to even increase. So after you ask yourself what you want to do this year, then start looking at your budget. Just list your expenses and list your income. It will give you a good idea. A lot of us, we plan our budgets based on our income. And I don't know about you, but my income my salary, let me say my salary, because a lot of us look at our salary as income, would not be able to fund the things that I want to do. So another strategy for this year is to have multiple streams of income. And people might think, listen, ma'am, I don't have the time to be having a second and third job, but it's not that difficult. For example, some of us are sitting down on some gold mines, I don't know, like there's this person at my church who could really make sweet bread. I'm like, yo,
monetize
this. I have somebody that I'm working with who can crochet earrings, clothing. I'm like, yo, what are you good at? And you can turn that into a source of income. What are you already doing? Are you babysitting? Are you combing hair for your family? Maybe you could extend that service to the neighborhood, etc. A lot of us do a lot of short courses. What are we doing with them after? Right? Flower arrangements, etc. So having multiple streams of income will definitely help you to accomplish your goals. Of course,
yeah, because I'm thinking that you're saying so much, and it's a lot that goes into planning. And when you're thinking about setting aside money, well, first of all, holding yourself accountable in terms of writing down all your expenses.
Yeah.
It's a lot. How do you How do you encourage yourself to do this? Because I know that some persons, I might be guilty as well, we have habits that we
Right.
don't necessarily need to have. Some habits that do not contribute to us having a healthy budget
Right.
that will allow us to save, or all the other things that we set as goals, because we do have goals. Some might be unrealistic, some might even be unattainable because of our habits. How do we address our habits? How do we encourage ourselves to say, now is the time? And do we wait until we get into crisis? How? Because for me, that is crossing that hurdle. How do we get there?
I think one of the things that helped me, as I would have mentioned before, is just simply writing it down, having a visual of what you want to do. For example, I could give you some tips that I use myself. Like, I am a big birthday person, right, Adanna? Well, you should know that because you know me. And one of the things I know is that this year I want to do something for myself for my birthday. So I've written that down already. And I've already created systems. So what I do, I have different accounts for different goals. And I mean, you can do that. You could join a credit union. Nothing is wrong with having multiple bank accounts because these are systems that will help us to measure our goals, right? So I know I'm going to have a big something for my birthday, and I've already started, even in January, I'm putting things in place for that. I also know that I want to do some studies, right? So I have set up a system, a particular account where funds will be going to that, so I could be able to see, okay, do I need to sell something? Do I need to have more persons as clients in order to fund that account? So simply writing it down and then establishing systems where you can be able to measure to see how your progress is going. Those are little tips and tricks that I use for myself personally.
And in terms of, writing it down kind of holds you accountable, because when you go back to that notepad or you go back to that sticky note that you put on your mirror, wherever you put it, you remind yourself, I really need to start this.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ways you can hold yourself accountable? I know sometimes people go in it with a partner,
Right.
a friend, or what are some of the other ways that can hold people accountable? Because even if I see that sticky note, you might feel a pang of guilt, and then you'll just be like, and then tomorrow you come back and you feel guilty again, and the next week you're guilty, and by the time you look at it, you're at the end of March and you haven't done anything. So what are some of the other things you can do to really hold you accountable to those financial goals?
Well, there are persons like myself we are coaches. So you and Alana Allen, she's also another coach that you can use. So you ask for help, you ask for support, because this might not be what you are good at, right? So if you're not good at something, you outsource, you ask for help. So that is another strategy. You can just give us a call, send us a message on Facebook or social media, and we'll be willing to sit down and to help you, hold you accountable so that you can meet some of the goals that you are trying to achieve. In addition to having multiple streams of income, I want to encourage persons to manage debt, because a lot of my clients, when they come to me, they are in heavy debt. And I mean, nothing is wrong with borrowing, because we borrow to invest, we borrow because we want to accomplish things in life, right? But managing it is very important. So a lot of persons may feel that they are in a chokehold because of debt. There are several options out there for you to manage debt. For example, a debt consolidation. Now, persons look down on borrowing to take care of debt, but what a debt consolidation does is it gives you additional cash flow. So you might have 5 loans, and the amount that you're paying out every month is, let's say, $5,000. If you take that and you make it into one loan, your payment might go down to $2,000. So you have $3,000 additional dollars to help take care of your goals, and you have this space in order to breathe. And I always tell my clients, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So if you, let's say, get a contract or you start a business and it's doing really well, you could just put that money or put the profits or the surplus to taking care of that debt. So one strategy that I would want to give Tobago this morning to manage your debt is to seek out a debt consolidation. You are not hopeless. Go to these financial institutions, ask questions, because we sometimes think, oh God, nobody wants. These people want to give you their business, right? So go and speak to somebody at the bank, and they will be able to advise you in going forward. So managing that is very important. The final thing I wanted to talk about in terms of tips is basically building an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is not your savings, right? So aside from your goals, you need to have an emergency fund where in the event that something pops up, it's not going to derail your goals, right? So again, that is another system you can employ by maybe having a credit union account or a bank account where you put funds specifically for emergency. And you could start off small because some people might be like, ma'am, my budget is already very tight.
Yes. Mm.
But again, you can start off with $50. And trust me, if that tire needs to be repaired or plugged or whatever, you have something that you can just run to take care of emergency. So having an emergency fund is very important.
You know, you told us quite a lot there, viewers, and I hope that you're paying attention to, you know, making your budget and planning financially, because especially the emergency fund, you never know what can pop up. You never know when you might need to run to funds for something, and you don't, as Crystal said, you don't want to be derailed from your plans. If you have all these wonderful goals for yourself, you want to be able to have that kind of cash flow to plug into the necessary emergency that might arise. As we look around the world, we see so many things happening. You might want to buy some kind of medication or something, anything. It doesn't matter what it is, you want to have that extra cash flow. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us on set this morning and for sharing those tips. I'm telling you, I am blown away by the wealth of knowledge that you shared with us this morning, and you know, the strategies that can be implemented to help us to set budgets, to set a plan, and to stick to it, especially the accountability, because I know that we have some unhealthy habits where finances are concerned. There's ways to make multiple streams of income, debt consolidation. Listen, I feel as if after this conversation, I could be a financial coach assistant. Let's start with assistant. You know, so thank you so much for coming this morning and sharing your knowledge with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you're viewing the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and we're coming to you live from the Milford Road, Esplanade. We have more in store for you, so we do hope that you could stay with us. Remember, this beautiful set is sponsored by Courts, and they are located on the ground floor of the Port Mall in Scarborough. Ladies and gentlemen, as we go for a break, we invite you to help us share the live. Share the live. Share the live. We'll be right back.